Hi there. I have a guest. It's Vish from Revyz.
It's a very painful job because you have to do everything manually and it takes time. If you spent 10 hours building that nice workflow and project, it'll take you another 10 hours doing that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken correctly, there were 709 sites which lost data. The point I'm trying to make is your data, your responsibility. If you mess it up, you're responsible for it. In fact, it'll say, we want to make our admin, our target persona, the superhero for their company.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Almost. First of all, thank you very much, Martin.
Yeah.
Seeing you after a very long time. And thank you for hosting me out here. It's a Revyz.
Revyz, okay.
So if you make a mistake, you can revise.
That's
the background.
Yeah, okay, now I get it, yeah. But Vish was correct.
That's right, you go.
Okay. Okay, cool. Revyz is a backup solution, right?
Not just a backup solution.
Okay.
So, there are two problems which we help solve for Atlassian Cloud customers. Only cloud, no data center. One, of course, automating backup and granular restore. So you want to restore back one asset, you want to restore back one workflow, or many, whatever the situation may be. We help you with that. The second, and I would say this is the more important problem which is there, which every Atlassian administrator and large enterprise faces, is Atlassian gives you a sandbox and you have your production site. How do you move things between the two? Especially if you've made all your changes in your configuration in your sandbox, you want to copy that over. It's a very painful job because you have to do everything manually and it takes time. If you spent 10 hours building that nice workflow and project, it'll take you another 10 hours doing that.
So I don't know that. I have to ask, but maybe that's the right understanding. So I have configured a test instance and everything's looking great and I've put in content, and you then help me copy over all this stuff into my other instance?
All your configuration.
Okay, but not the content?
Oh, you can do content too. But typically, from tests to production, nobody takes the issues and whatever data because they want all that fresh project, which is just getting started off. But we can do that too.
Yeah.
But the more important part is all your customizations which you have done. As an example, you would have had some custom fields, you have your screens based on whatever you want, your workflow, whatever that complicated workflow is.
Is that Jira only or also Confluence?
As of today, we are focused completely on, I guess, Jira, JSM. I think this is where we see where customers have been telling us about what their pain points are.
Yeah.
And that's our focus area. But over the course of time, as we see more opportunities in Confluence for moving configuration, we will be getting there too.
Yeah, okay. So it's a Jira only thing right now. And is there a limitation? So can I really take over everything, or are there stuff that the APIs of Atlassian doesn't allow to move? Or
great question. We are limited by Atlassian APIs in certain instances. There are no APIs. I'm just trying to jog my memory to see where there are no APIs which will allow you. Maybe there's a very good example. Automation rules. Automation rules, there are no public APIs at this point of time. But what we do is we are using the private APIs, which I guess is everybody can see them. We're using them to at least pull the data, and you can then granularly download them, and you would have to manually move them from one place to another place, but we make it a lot more easier.
Yeah, okay. Understand that.
So wherever there are no APIs, we try to build a solution as much as possible with what we can do, because the big limitation is not having those APIs, causes.
Okay, let's go back a little and talk a little bit about why do customers choose your solution? What are the main problems that they have? Like, I don't remember Atlassian failing to recover data that people stored in. That didn't happen in the past, right?
Well, let me correct you there. So I think April of 2022,
okay,
there was actually team event. exactly 3 years ago, there was a big outage.
Okay.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken correctly, there were 709 sites which lost data.
Yeah, okay.
So things happen, mistakes happen. It's not nobody's doing this on purpose. Now, according to, and this is true whether it is Atlassian, Microsoft, AWS, any of the, or Salesforce, any of the big software vendors out there, in the cloud, most vendors go along with this thing called the shared responsibility, right? What does shared responsibility mean in a nutshell, right? We're here in LA, you probably rented a car from the airport and you've gotten it out here. If the car, something happens to the car, when you're driving, let's say the engine shuts off, then the responsibility is actually the rental company's responsibility. On the other hand, you parked it in some place, somebody comes and vandalizes it, or somebody breaks the glass or something, then it is your responsibility. The point I'm trying to make is your data, your responsibility. If you mess it up, you're responsible for it, whether it is Atlassian, Microsoft, any of the softwares. On the other hand, if they mess up, meaning the vendor does something wrong, like the 2022 incident, then Atlassian is responsible for it.
Okay. But you're also helping me for my responsibilities. That's what you want to say, right? So there's a lot of data losses that Atlassian doesn't.
Right.
That's not.
Of course, they're not. They've built a good, very secure system, but from a compliance perspective, they don't know if somebody is accidentally deleting something or they wanted it. So in those scenarios, it is the customer's responsibility to be able to recover your data back, and it's a good practice.
There are a lot of backup solutions out there nowadays in the Atlassian marketplace. Which of those can you name that customers should look at as well? And I want to hear names. And how do you compare? So what's the difference?
Actually, I'll tell you about all the at least the ones I know. So there is Rewind, there's Haiku, there's Git Protect, there's Rubric. I think they have a marketplace page now, and then of course Revyz. We have there are I think at least 5 vendors from what I know. Maybe there are 2, 3 more out there. I think every customer should go and evaluate each one of them, because everybody's got something different. If you're in a marketplace, you got to have something different which is making you look different from the other person. How do we differentiate? I can talk about where we are very different from any of our vendors, any of our competitors, I would say. It comes down to deployment and configuration management. I talked about there are 2 problems which we help solve for large enterprise customers. Number one is obviously backup and restore, but the second one is this deployment, moving configuration from sandbox to production, and so on and so forth. Now, for various reasons, we went down the path of configuration, understanding configuration in Jira and Confluence. As you know, Jira is it's very flexible. It's a very good tool, but once you give flexibility to users, then it also brings in complexity, right? Now, we went down the path of understanding configuration really well. If you want to restore your data back, you've got to understand configuration very well. And that's what gives us our super strength in restoring back data really well, also moving configuration from different sites to and so on. I would say that's, I think, one superpower which we have. The second superpower...
Is your solution cheaper or more expensive than the others?
Well, it's a good question. I believe you're a lot more expensive than the others. And in spite of that, when customers come and compare and do an evaluation, they pick us because we're able to solve the problem for the customer. Just on the...
But you don't win on price then?
Not on price. We're not competing. We are competing on value, what we provide to the customer. If the customer thinks that this is the right solution for them, we are solving their problems, they're happy to pay whatever we're... in fact, when they look at the overall portfolio of what we are offering, if the customer wants to go and address the problem which we are solving for them, they would have to go and install like 4 or 5 apps from different vendors. So it's not just one vendor, they have to go to multiple vendors. And that's where it actually probably becomes more complicated and maybe more expensive too. If you just compare backup, we're probably more I think maybe 20-30% more than others.
Show us a little bit about your app.
All right. So what you're seeing on the screen, again, this is the opening homepage. You have backup, clone, restore, cleanup, site insights, and so on. I want to just pick one thing because in the interest of time, I'm going to just go pick on one use case. This is an analytics use case. Now, imagine you come here to LA. Of course, you're not the administrator, but put yourself in the administrator's shoes, right? You came here for the Atlassian event. Before you left your office, everything was working fine. Right? You came in out here, you're going to learn a lot more and then get back next week. A week later, you go back and your end users are complaining something is not working. What's the first thing which you're going to be doing? You're going to be going and looking at what changed. When I left, everything was good. When I came back, something changed. Now, what is it that changed? Now, it's very difficult to go and figure out what changed. You have to look through logs. I don't even know where you would go look because that information is not.
I wouldn't know that either, yeah?
We have a very simple thing. Now, the reason why we are able to do this is because we're taking a backup of your site every day. We can quickly compare and tell you what is changed.
Yeah, okay, so it's like a div.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you see this, I'm going to go back just to illustrate my point. I'm going to go back, let's go back a couple of months. Let's go to January 1st. Maybe that sounds like a good date. Okay, let's go to January 1st. So in the last 4 months, what has changed in your Atlassian site? Look at the responsiveness. It's very quick, right? We're dealing with a lot of data right now. It immediately comes back and tells you what is different. I'm going to remove the noise. I'm going to say, I'm not interested in this no change. If something has not changed, I don't care about it.
Yeah.
Now you can clearly see the green, blue, red. It's telling you, I'm just going to pick.
Created, modified, or deleted.
Right. So these are the custom fields. There were 8 custom fields which were deleted. Right. So you're very quickly going. You're coming down to the problem of what changed. Now, what is the relationship for this to, let's say, a restoration? If you don't know what got deleted, what are you going to be restoring back? It's no point restoring back your entire site. You want to be very precise. You want to be surgical in getting things back. So here now, if these fields were really important, you can revert them back. Or you want to look at what got modified. Let's see, there's a role which got modified. Maybe some people didn't get access. So you can go in and see what roles got modified, or there was a screen scheme change or groups. I think we added, we signed up with Loom. I remember this. We created some new groups for Loom users. So you can see these changes very quickly. Again, this is not backup per se, but it helps the admin do their job much better. In fact, it'll say, we want to make our admin our target persona, the superhero for their company.
Yeah.
Because this will give them that, those tools which will help them be knowing what is going on very quickly.
Yeah, that's cool. That's like as if it was a code base and I could go and see all the commits and changes. Yeah.
Right. Now, I was telling you about moving configuration from sandbox to production. We want to deploy.
Deployment. Show me.
I'm going to pick, so just imagine, okay, this is site 1. I'm going to pick my QA site as site 2. I want to move a project from one site to another site, right?
Can we move the whole instance?
We could do that too.
Yeah, okay.
You could do that too. But typically from a sandbox, it's going to be pieces, bits and pieces.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Okay. So I'm going to list all the projects. I'm just going to pick the first one out here. I'm going to move this project called Cloud Updates. Now, here is where the magic comes in. So see this, it says restore with issues. You can move the data also. Okay. Now, here is where the magic comes in out here. So I'm going and looking at the project and I'm listing out all the dependencies.
Okay.
Right. I am saying.
I know from coding what a dependency is, but for Jira, that's not.
That's not obvious, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to move a project from one site to another site, project is made up of a bunch of configuration. There's custom fields, screens, all the different things which are there. Now, if you don't move all of those things together, then things won't work. And now sometimes and Jira has got a lot of shared objects, right? You share things across projects. Fields are shared, screens are potentially shared, So here we are telling you, for example, to your point, there are these issue types called task and subtask, which are shared, which is pretty common, right? Now, but they are modified. See, it's both these issue types are present in your production and in your sandbox, but they are different. Now, you talked about going and looking at the commits and seeing what is different. You can actually see that right here. So you can go in and see, if I go into this diff view, it's saying the description is different.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Now I got a choice to make. Now the admin is in full control. I can say, look, sure, I don't want to change the description. I can just unselect them.
Yeah.
Right? And then I can go into summary. Now, here is the best part. I can export this change list. So imagine a large company, you're making changes into your production environment, right? You want that to be documented. You want that to be approved. Right? Typically, most companies will have a change management process. They have a CAB, a board which says, okay, this change is good to go. And typically the question will be, what are those changes? And it's a pain to go and write everything down. Now you have clear documentation. Now imagine this big list of things. It's clearly documented. You're saying, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is what I'm going to be taking from sandbox to production. Again, just making that life of that admin much more simpler. You hit clone, you type in, you can add in your notes, you can give your reference to the ticket where you got the approval. Now, there's a lot more to this, right? Again, I'm just giving you the simplified version. From what I understand, in regulated industries like your financial services, healthcare, you can have a person develop code, again in this case in a Jira project or whatever customization, but that same person cannot operate on the production. So there are different roles out there. So we also have that role-based access control implemented, wherein you have an approval process, who develops it, who approves it, who implements it, can be completely different. And all of that is going through this one application, so to speak.
Yeah, sounds pretty mature.
Yeah. And I think our customers have been super helpful in guiding us, in sharing what their requirements are. Just going back to what makes us different. The superpowers are, one is of course the app part of it, but I would also say the people on our side, because once we understand what the customer's requirement are, we pretty much turn I call it an MVP version, call it an EAP in Atlassian terms. That pretty much happens, within a couple of days, and customers are really surprised and saying, "Oh, how are you able to get things done so quickly?" I think those are our powers. We move fast. We help customers address their needs, as we learn about it.
So if you want to know more about Revyz, talk to us or talk to Vish directly.
Yeah, I think, Martin, you've been a great supporter. Seabird Media has been, your consulting team has been very helpful to us. You can talk to them or you can talk to us. Either one, we're, I guess, in it together.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.